Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Coffee with Jim and James. James, I have to tell you a quick story about our guest today.
Wait. Which James? I don't know.
That's James. Right. We have two James. James Cross.
Confusing.
I'm going to tell you a story about James Hulse. Okay.
Got it.
And if you know my past, CNG and LNG, I'm kind of a geek in that, where you're like a techie geek and all that stuff. I'm a geek in that. I remember the first time, this is a true story, that I met James. He was with our other good friend, ex-representative of the state of Texas, Jason Isaac, at a trade show, and somehow we just got to meet each other. This might have been between my Centerpoint and Thigpen days, but we just started to geek out on LNG and talking about how one LNG tanker is the equivalent of 6.5 CNG trailers and minus 265 degrees and all this stuff. And it was a wonderful time. And an interesting part is the friendship that grew, started there and continues to this day. And ironically, through our career, James Hulse and I, he then joined Centerpoint a few years later and some other things. And so it's ironic how our paths have kind of always intertwined. So with that, James Cross, let you bring in our guest today, if you would, please.
There's a lot of Jameson going on.
James
Hulse, we are good friends. We have a lot of overlap from the TGA, our work there. I think I've seen him on a few golf courses here and there as well.
Oh,
James, if you don't mind, give us a quick intro for those that may not know you, and then we'll follow up with some juicy details.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I've been a fan of the show when you guys first started, kind of watching what you were doing, and very opportune. The timing of things really defines a lot of success, and knowing when to do something. Y'all found a gap, especially with the conditions of the pandemic and whatnot, and put this thing together that kind of helped to recreate this connection. And I love it. I love what you're doing.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
We're hearing more and more. We just got back from AGA. This will date the episode, which I said don't do. But we just got back from AGA, and we heard such great things from folks out there that very similar, just having somebody and kind of recreating that conversation that we've all been missing, which honestly, James, leads to kind of the first question. It's been a crazy year and a half, 2 years almost now. There's a reason we haven't ran each other at a show lately. How have you been holding up through the pandemic? What's it look like for you? How have things kind of been shaping and changing in your world?
Well, I mean, things are definitely, very different, or have been very different over the last, 18, 20 months, since things kind of closed down, shut down, just changed. The way we interact with people has changed. The way you approach people and maintain relationships is very different. Jimmy talked about, the first time that he remembers him and I meeting. Now that he brings that up, I remember that day. And as he started to tell that story, I was a little nervous as to what he would broadcast, but I think we have a good clean track record. So I'm proud of that. So Jason Isaacs, we can still be friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably an avid listener. But COVID's it's had a lot of change. What was habit and good habits that you developed over years and years through just typical behaviors were all interrupted. I'll give you one example. For probably 7 years previous to 2020, every morning I got up at 4:45. I was at the gym by 5, working out for an hour every morning. Come home, just the habit of, all right, get the kids ready, get them out, make sure they're off to school, get to the office, get to where I need to go, or traveling. When I traveled, I created this habit of reading a book in flight that I always brought with me. I would read this book, get as many pages through, and I'm a little high functioning attention deficit. I got to do different things. I can't concentrate on one thing for a long time, but I'm good at keeping several things going. So that's why I call it highly functional. But so I could read a book for an hour or two, and I went through a lot of books, which I really enjoyed. Then when that kind of came to a screeching halt, that had to change. I had to find a different way to get in my exercise and workouts. I bought a Peloton, trying to find that solution, did walks, did other workouts around the house or in the backyard on the pool and stuff, or with reading, it was difficult because it wasn't like that set time when I was on a flight heading to a customer, but COVID changed that. My role with the business has changed that I'm not traveling nearly as much. So I've had to find other places that make sense and are convenient to support what were good habits, but the habits worked because of the convenience of the timing. So that happened. The other big piece, I think you guys are probably, this show is kind of a testament to it, is how you maintain relationships throughout COVID.
Totally
One,
different.
how do you connect with people you don't see all the time that you used to, whether, shows, visiting customers, your employees, your coworkers. And the other one is, how do you maintain relationships with the people you're seeing a lot more, like your family, like, people that are at home all the time, that you're used to having that separation. It kind of reveals in yourself, you're good in a certain situation. Can you be good in all situations? And if you can't, how quick can you adapt and kind of overcome? So, I got engaged during COVID. A lot of things happened kind of during that period. Thank you. I'm thrilled, very happy. Found a fantastic lady, and she fits well with our family, and we fit well with her, and so we're thrilled about that. But even that, during that period, kind of constantly building yourself to be a good partner, be a good good father. Pandemic and changing behavior and habits, you got to be able to adjust. Be quick with it. So your show, this thing, it's always refreshing to see who you have on, to listen to what they're talking about, so your show's a testament to that. Would this have happened if COVID didn't happen?
No way. Yeah. Jim wouldn't be
Not at all.
involved. Yeah. It might be
Jim
you.
was like, no, I'm getting on the road.
It might have been me and you,
Exactly.
Hulse. I mean, but yeah, Jim wouldn't have been involved. He would have been too busy.
Yeah.
But it is a cool byproduct, for sure. I will say, being out on the road this past week, I wondered how it would translate, because there's so many people that I met in a virtual environment, and these were going to be some of the first times to really get there, shake their hands. And I'll tell you, we were open arms. Literally, there are people that came up and hugged my neck that I'd never met before, other than through this podcast and through Zoom. And so that was awesome, because honestly, I was like, well, we'll be invited to the table in person, and we were, and that was really cool. So it's awesome to hear that from folks that have watched it, because I've said it before, I don't watch the show a lot because we live it, we kind of do. And when I do go back, I'm like, man, I hope we're checking our boxes too, and really making the impact we do. So that's awesome to hear.
It's I've always said that disruption creates opportunity.
No doubt.
And if you're in disruption, instead, you have to focus on what is the opportunity. Don't focus on the disruption. If you wanted to create that, that's what you wanted. If you didn't, then there's an opportunity for you to do something. And this was an opportunity you guys jumped on, very opportune, very intelligent, very smart move. And
Thank you.
I'll stop praising you now. And we'll get to other things.
Our next 3 episodes, we're doing a mini series with James Hulse about the impact of coffee with Jim and Jim.
Oh, geez. Let me come down to earth, because with James Hulse's words, I'm how much. Let me bring it down to earth. And one thing we talk about in the pre-show, we talk about it with everybody, and it kind of relates to this, is that we kind of set this up like we're catching up at a trade show. Just have that open, organic conversation, like we haven't seen each other in 2 months. Hence, like before COVID, when we see each other every month or 2 months. And if we were just catching up a trade show today, I would ask you, knowing the mobile energy solutions business, virtual pipelines, CNG tankers, LNG tankers, a lot of the audience kind of knows about it, but doesn't. But it's mobile, it's on the move. And I want to dive into that business aspect. With the pandemic, did it alter? Did it change things? What during the pandemic fostered in the mobile energy side? Was it positive for you guys? Was it challenging? Give us what you encountered, James Hulse.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Your experience in this business, you have a lot of insight, and you can probably imagine a lot of the things that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
You led a business very, very similar for a long time, very successfully. The actual experience, well deserved. You deserve that. The actual experience going through it, you kind of come in, and I remember when we first decided at the tower at Centerpoint to work virtually, and I had some meetings set for sometime in in April, and I pushed them. I said, we're not going to do these in April.
Right.
We're gonna push them to May, Cinco de Mayo. It's Corona, anti-Corona day, Cinco de Mayo. It all makes sense. Let's push them to Cinco de Mayo. That's when we're going to beat Corona. Yeah, well, yeah. I wasn't even right on the right year. So it was a lot of things in that respect change. We had all our employees. Our technicians would consistently come to the shop when they weren't out on projects. We do projects all over the lower 48.
Yep.
They would come to the shop and they would work together and be together, during the day when they weren't out. We had to change that. We had to limit cross contact. And then we also had to help them maintain the relationships with each other, because a lot of times they would show up on projects and rely on each other because they were working together for 12, 13 hours at a time, or they were kind of shifting with one person there in the morning, one in the evening. They kind of had that exchange of information between their shifts of how things are running, any updates, and trying to minimize contact.
Yep.
Because we are a smaller group. We don't have a pool of several hundred people to pull from, that if 2%, 3%, 5% get sick, that we'd be okay. We have 12 people in the field. One gets sick, that's a big impact. So we were very, very conscious of that. We didn't come out unscathed. We were affected, but we handled it, I think, very well. The other thing about it, 2020 was we as we went into the pandemic, we're trying to figure out what the impact would be. And all the impact, every number was, here's our negative impact to the business because of this. And for us, we were wrong. In the end, the impact was, our customers, especially utility companies, they were limiting employees from going into homes to do relights. So they stopped doing shutoffs for non-payment. We saw that all over the country. There were programs to stop utilities from being shut off for non-payment because people were out of work or different things. So they didn't want to shut them off, not just for non-payment, also for if there was work to be done, they had to replace something. They didn't want to be in the home. So they did everything they could to maintain the gas flow to that home, to keep it consistently running, which presented a big influx of opportunity for us, because that's exactly what we do. Yep. We maintain the gas flow, maintain the integrity of the system with injecting gas downstream of a shutdown portion of the pipe or an isolation. So that started taking off. And then there were delays. There were some other issues that kind of lined up with getting permits or getting things through different government organizations to get pipelines run or replaced, that some shutdowns took longer. So our 2020 was it was a record year for us.
Really?
By activity, by revenue, by all our key performance indicators were just radically up. When if you asked me what was happening in April, I would be shaking my head like, I'm not sure, but I'm confident it's not going to be better. We were wrong, but wrong in a good way. That happened to happen. And for us, we don't look at that. Oh, we had this. That wasn't the win. The win was we quickly adjusted our processes, adjusted how we interacted with each other, and adjusted how we flow information, share information, and kind of keep our business healthy, our business immune system healthy, our employees healthy. Those switches made us able to kind of funnel all that to opportunity and take advantage of it. So, you combine all of that during COVID with, we were going through a divestiture from Centerpoint. We've been working as a competitive energy business under the Centerpoint name since 1997. It's evolved a few different times over that period. And right before COVID hit, it was, hey, let's look at selling this business as well. CenterPoint is very focused on their utility, regulated electric and gas utility business, which is very successful.
Yep.
And it makes perfect sense. That is the big piece. If you look at the pie chart of total revenue, you couldn't zoom in far enough to see the pixels of the line that Mobile Energy Solutions is, so we weren't core. We are a big support piece. We do support them to maintain the integrity of their systems, but not a core focus of the business. And they realize that. So, well, this industry is growing for you. Your customer base is growing. You need someone that can focus on you, and that's not going to be us. So let's put you out to the market and find a good home for you. And that's what they did. All during COVID, we worked on that as well. So
congratulations.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
I mean, that's great. And I just want to comment a little bit before. We've been focusing so much on, or bringing it up, I should say. We're in the virtual world. We're going to get back to conferences, hybrid. We're learning about this virtual world. In your world, my past world, the education of virtual pipeline and how can be of use and keep people up and running, versus like a cut and replace and put a stopple in. And, that's been done for decades and decades and decades, and people are just used to it. When you throw that into the pandemic time, when people are like, oh, we don't want to go into houses and relights, how can we avoid it? And I think people are going to really probably embrace the virtual pipeline, the mobile energy side a lot more going forward, because the time of COVID had maybe forced a hand into that. Is that a feel? Am I just getting that feel, or is that your feel too?
No, that's a great assessment. Jim, I guess you'd have the experience to see that and connect the two. But yeah, I mean, it's become more of a normal thing. When I went to CenterPoint and really started helping develop this, and you were at ThigPen developing it as well, the time is very different today. Back then, we were this new exotic service.
Yeah.
Very different. A lot of people had never done it or heard of it. They'd used alternate means when they needed to.
Yep.
And as this service became available and as a new tool that they could use to maintain their gas flow, serve their customers, it's become more widely accepted. And now everybody talks about it like it's an everyday thing, which is good for business. Good, we've accomplished that as an industry. We've accomplished that, shown that it is reliable, shown that it is safe, that it can be done. So, and then COVID helped push that and expose a lot more people in the industry to it. And so now you see what was trying to get a meeting with a customer and tell them about this and explain what it is and explain how it works, to just constantly you're hearing RFPs going out from all these different people that would hardly even give you a meeting 6 years ago. That are now just, nope, this is normal process. We've got this in our book, and it's kind of clockwork. We have a lot of fantastic customers that are on like work orders instead of doing bids. So
it's comfort level, and the more you use it, the more comfortable you are, the more confident you are, and all those things. And it's great to see. Let me switch gears a little bit on you, because it also brought up a topic that I know that you're absolutely a champion of and herald it, and the topic of responsible energy. Give presentations on it and such like that. And those outside of the industry hear the words responsible energy. They're like, whoa, what type of political agenda is this? And it really isn't. And you do a very good job, James Hulse, of talking about that. Can you fill us in your thoughts? Why are you so passionate about that topic and being a champion for sharing that topic with others?
First, to me, responsible energy is pretty simple. It's entails really the overall integrity of the energy system and limiting waste within there, and also failures within that system. Limit those as much as we possibly can. We need to find, of course, long-lasting fuel sources that are good for our economy, good for our environment, and good for all of our citizens and our geographic neighbors as well. We are a world economy when it comes to energy, and something that works well for all of us over a long period of time, what works well today and what can work well as technology develops. But, my take on it and my focus on it is really more about that reliable energy delivery, and about it being as pure as it can be. Because when it's not reliable or it's not available to everyone doesn't have the same economic advantage. They don't all have the same opportunities to excel, the same opportunities to open their own business, or some opportunities to maintain kind of their stable future and their income. You look at different communities, that we supply gas to, and sometimes, we're looking at providing gas to maybe a large commercial industrial, like a plant where there's 200-300 workers that live in that small town to that plant. And their response, a lot of the response we get from a successful project like that we've heard, is from local leadership, whether it's from the city or the mayor or different things, saying we really appreciate the ability to do this to maintain our citizens working, the plant moving, because that's revenue for them. That's income for the employees that are not furloughed and things like that. So this reliable system doesn't just create, we all get our lights on. It means a lot more than that when it comes to hits all the way at home into our pocket, not just the person providing, but the individual working at the plant, that if they shut the pipe down, like, well, the plant, we need to do a controlled shutdown, and we're going to furlough everybody for 4 or 5 days and then come back on. That's a big impact to that community, to the individuals, all the way down, to the, it hits that bottom line. And when you have good community leaders that understand that and really care about it, they see that. They see it before we even have to say anything, and they understand that impact. So when it comes to that responsible energy, finding ways to give that opportunity to everyone. We have a great nation full of opportunity. And if we can provide affordable, clean energy to everyone consistently that they can rely on, it creates opportunity, and it lifts everybody. And it kind of gets us through some of these different things of these different inequalities that we may perceive that are real, and helps us overcome that just through energy, So maybe I'm trying to be too, I guess, not patriotic, but trying to tie this too much to like some emotional connection. But it's you look at the example of like Winter Storm Uri, and the impact that it had on my community here in Texas. We come in and we go through this freeze that people in Wisconsin and in Minnesota are looking at us like, what is wrong with you? It was below freezing for a couple of days. We've been that way for 3 months. Yeah. Well, we're not built for that. And the impact it had on my neighbors with water damage from frozen, broken pipes, and then it's awful. Dramatic. Yeah.
People don't realize in Texas that water heaters, air conditioners, units are in the attic. Okay. Not the basement, because there's no basements in Texas, for lack of a better term. My brother over here, James Cross, I remember it was 3, 4, 5 days. I mean, we were on Zoom calls when we could. He was battling just getting water into the house.
I smelled so bad that they kicked me off of Zoom calls, No, I learned a lot during that time, but you're right. We're not built for it.
No, we're not.
We learned quite a bit. I learned quite a bit as a homeowner of things and I thought I was a fairly smart guy, but, not living in a house that's ever had PEX or anything, like all kinds of things. I'm just sitting here going, well, that wasn't insulated. I learned that today. I learned that about my water well, or anything, right? And it's it makes you really think about your energy choices and across the board. Go ahead.
Sorry, it really does, and that impact hit. Like my neighbors down the street. They didn't have a generator. They didn't have certain things, and they thought, well, we're going to go someplace. And they didn't really understand, to drain the water from their house, because a lot of the pipes go through the attic. Yeah. And we're here. We have a couple generators running, kind of fluctuating different parts, different circuits in the house to keep things warm, putting whatever we can. I'm in the attic pushing insulation on top of pipes, off of other, this will survive us, and then draining it at night when we weren't using the water. But those people, it was a big impact. They have insurance, it'll help, but
there's disruption and chaos.
The disruption's huge, and it's not free. The insurance, it does not go back and make you completely whole. It'll fix your house, but you're going to have those problems. So, having that reliable system, so during that storm, we were out, we had every single piece of equipment out. We were injecting gas onto 27 different injection points throughout Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, on places that would have lost gas, which would have been even more impactful, because they wouldn't be able to keep at least maybe the gas fireplace going or their furnace going with some power generation. So I mean, thousands of homes and businesses were kind of supported with that, so whatever we can do to help support that, that's really our focus. And I think it's it's worked well for us, and it helps us feel good about our contribution to that reliable energy system that we're trying to support.
I like that angle. I do, for sure. Uh, James, I've been like a fly on the wall over here because y'all just nerd out about stuff. And listen, you'd think I may know this and I'm just giving myself a hard time, but really I learned so much from these shows, and then I feel like I get better for the next one. But I did hear you talk about, you're an avid reader earlier. I know you've at least watched one of our podcasts.
1.5.
Yeah. Tell me, I love audiobooks. I was just traveling last week and the same thing. I used to just put it on or read on all my trips. And so I've missed that component and had to find it in other ways. Tell me, what's your go-to books? What's some of your favorites? This is usually where Jimmy just checks his phone and hangs out with himself, because he literally has 2 books, I think. The Bible. 7 Habits.
That's it.
Yeah, and he was forced to read both of them, thankfully. But what's in your apps or podcasts? What do you listen to? What do you read? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, I try to be a lifelong learner. I think I'm still learning how to learn more than anything. So a lot of the things I read focus on. Some people may call it self-help. I call it personal or professional development. So I like to learn about different subjects and things. On podcasts, of course, Coffee with Jim and James,
Of course.
On the daily.
I'm subscribed to it as well, just to pad numbers.
Yeah, I support my likes on LinkedIn, everything I can do.
Thank you.
To help. So I think you guys are doing great. But outside of that, I really enjoy Russell Brand, Tim Ferriss, Joe Rogan, just because the wide variety of people that they have on there, from topics that you may completely disagree with, but even listening through it and understanding, I think I understand why they believe the way they
feel
do.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand why they would feel that way. Makes perfect sense.
I love a good lens, when I can get a new lens into something. That's really refreshing.
And whether I agree with it or support it or not, as long as, I can understand why they would. That makes perfect sense, and kind of getting that, kind of breaking out of this box of who I am. I think I'm constantly evolving and learning. And if I feel like I've figured everything out, that's probably my first failure point, and the next ones are quickly after that. But I'm reading 2 books right now. One is a biography of Theodore Roosevelt, which is super interesting. That guy, kind of a savage, very hardcore dude who came in at a time in the United States when, assassination of presidents was not uncommon, with Abraham Lincoln and Garfield right before him. The one that he replaced, Garfield. He comes in to be the president of the United States and kind of helps settle things, at a time when the United States was trying to figure out who they were. What are we doing? What do we value? Where do we sit in the world? And if they didn't like something, back in the day, it was a musket, Here we had it differently.
Pace it off. Let's go.
But the other one I'm reading is a book called Risk, a User's Guide, by General Stanley McChrystal. And he does a very good job of talking about what risk is, things that you can do to improve the health of yourself and your business, to avoid risk, to assess risk. And he gives this really good example that I want to share. He talks about there's risk everywhere, and we all see it, we all know it. Every time you get in your car, there's risk. But you can do things, the risk is there. You have no control of what that is. You can control your what you do when you're in that form of risk. So when you get on a plane, do you put your seatbelt on in turbulent, environment, or do you not? That's up to you. You can control it. He gives us this example of you're walking down the street and someone is down there with a handgun. Well, if you just walk down the street in your street clothes, you're probably going to suffer a pretty big impact if they hit you with that gun. But if you're going on that street with a tank, that threat of that gun is probably pretty minimal. So how you address those threats and things is important. So in your business, like communication is extremely important. So you understand that, hey, there's a threat down here, and it comes from every different angle, from supply chain. With us, it's how healthy are our suppliers that we rely on? How good is our relationship with them?
Right.
Because that's health of our business. That's a risk to our business, and everything to our customers. How healthy are our customers? How healthy is all these other pieces that we can assess to make sure that, if we do come across risk, we've really addressed it, communicated it well, and we have a good plan to kind of avoid those issues. But
Very
fantastic books. I would recommend both of them. I've read several others. If you want a good audio book, Sapiens by Yuval Harari, I think Yuval Harari. Fantastic, very, very deep into the origin of man on a scientific level.
Wow.
Very, very deep.
Whoa.
And if
Jim
you're an
almost
avid
laughed.
Bible reader, you'll get a different perspective. We'll just say that.
Yeah, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very, very interesting. Why people, one of the things they talk about is how you can unite people at a time when we went from being tribes of smaller groups where you knew everybody individually and intimately. And you knew they supported you supported them because you knew their name, you knew their children, you knew everything about them. To today, a symbol now unites people that have never met.
Yeah.
You can name a symbol. There are a lot of symbols you could probably bring up that unite people. You can call the symbol good, bad, whatever it is. But when certain people see that symbol, they then assimilate and say, I am with Apple, yeah, or Android, whatever you're holding up there, whatever it is, a flag. Yes,
Coffee with
Coffee
Jim and
James,
James.
a logo,
Coffee mug.
Subgroups, yeah.
a logo. That's one thing. Here's something I want to show it real quick.
Yeah. That was about to ask this exact question. Man, what
I found the way to
transition.
inject it. We talked about it. And
Let's do it, baby.
this is so smooth, and I'm blowing it by saying how smooth I am with it. But
no, please, I'm going to let you transition.
So, we mentioned in the very beginning our transition and divestiture from Centerpoint, which is a fantastic company. Cannot say anything better about my experience with Centerpoint. Great people, great processes. You have an opportunity to work there, take it. We're excited about the opportunity we have now. We've kind of been messing with our logo a little bit, and we're 98% set on this one. So I'm gonna give you a quick look at it.
Look at that. Love it.
Nice.
Quick look. All right.
So you better shut it down. There's a brand department somewhere freaking out.
Can I give you a little bit of pride moment here?
Yes,
that
sir.
may not know, but I was part of the core 2 or 3 people that came up with the name Mobile Energy Solutions in 2008 or 2009. Believe it.
2009 was the name change. You're right. Yes, sir.
That's when I graduated high school.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
I'm
let's go
just
on to
kidding.
another subject.
I'm kidding.
But the name that name carries, customers know that name.
Yeah.
The MES or Mobile Energy Solutions name, and it fits very well. What we deliver. We had an opportunity to. Do we just completely change it? Do we do something different? And we said, no, absolutely not. This is a fantastic name. It delivers the message. People know us by that.
I think so.
Take some pride in that, Jimmy. It lives on.
Yes.
It lives on.
It's kind of weird, but I do have a little pride of that. It's fun to see that, and it really didn't occur to me until I'm looking at it. I'm like,
that communications degree finally paying off.
That was it.
There you go. That was it. All that education. I love it.
James, we're winding down. I'm sorry, James Hulse.
I know. Freaks me out every time.
Jim's all of the whole bit.
Based on his performance, though, I will say that if I need a fill in 1 week, either way, I'd be happy for James to fill in for me.
I was going to start a podcast on relationships right at the beginning of COVID. Well, it was before, thinking I wanted to do something like this. I bought a bunch of gear. I've got probably $2,000 worth of gear sitting on the shelf here, prime condition, barely used, has 4 test recordings on it on my back patio. But
I know the professional mic. I thought somebody was getting a rose tonight. Sorry, Jimmy. I jumped into your spot.
I love it.
Feel free.
I love it. James, if we could, as we wind down here, you have the platform, you have the audience, you have the stage. If you were to say one word, one phrase, one thought that you want to leave the audience with today, what's on your mind? What would you want to leave them with and it is your world. So anything you want to say?
You know, I appreciate you opening the stage to anything
Wow, that's
you want to say. That's what I heard. So
Within reason.
within bounds, and these are fantastic bounds I'm gonna put it into. So I would like to participate, all three of us, into kind of a little exercise.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and I'm stealing this a little bit from Tim Ferriss. If you've ever read his book, what is it? Habit Champions, something of I'll think of the name. So in this
Cross,
book,
get on it, Cross.
I'll think of it. He in this book, he basically sent out these letters to like 150 different people with 6 questions on them. He says, "Hey, just respond to 1 or 2."
Okay.
And then he got these from all these different successful people in science, you know, acting, you know, things like that. All these people you've heard of, you know, pretty interesting. And there were 2 of the questions. I'm gonna give you the choice of these 2 and give the response to 1 of them.
Did he just turn this around on us? I feel like
you're the one that suggested I could fill in for you. So yes, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
Take the reins, big boy.
But I'm sure your fans want to hear from you too, not just.
Yes,
I feel like I've been speaking.
I'm sure all 3 of them.
That's the information I got. I put out a poll, and they said they wanted me to make sure.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
So here are the 2. So here are the 2 things Tim Ferriss had asked out. So I got to give him credit for these. But the first one, you know, if you could write something on a billboard, anything that everybody would see, what would you write? Or if you could give a high school senior 1 piece of advice, what would it be?
Ooh.
Pick one. Pick one and give a response.
Do you have to go right now? I feel like I need some study time.
I'll go first.
Love it.
I'll go first. So I'll take the billboard. You know, if I was to put, you know, be able to put something on a billboard that everybody drove by and saw, especially here in Houston traffic, they'd be able to read it 30 times as they approach and go by. You know, do what is most important today. That's what I would write in there.
Okay, I like it.
Do what is most important today.
This is going to sound corny for me because I've been saying it for a year, and those behind the scenes know why and where it comes from. But I would say in both settings that I would say be brave. Nothing gets done without, you know, that fear and that concern, and nothing gets done until somebody steps out and does it. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the smallest, most insignificant to someone else, but until you step out there, none of that hard stuff gets done.
Be brave. I love it.
I don't even know if I can go now, but I will. I would do the high school because actually with Summer, my daughter just graduating college, she's kind of in those years, and I always gave her advice was look for experiences and share those experiences with others. Because in decades and decades, when you look back at your life, it's not the money or the clothes or this or that, but it's going to be all those memories, and those memories come from experiences. So whether it's taking a new path around the park, or going to see a lake, or going to see a concert, or going to do whatever, enjoy and really look for life's experiences and cherish those.
Like being on a podcast with 3 your good friends.
Like being on podcast. James, that was fun.
Yeah, I appreciate you playing along.
We didn't know that was coming. That was
no,
James,
you didn't.
James Hulse pulled that one out of I like that.
It's making our show better. Jimmy, did you write that down?
I don't own a pen, so
or a book.
Keep it up here. James, thank you. James Hulse. Well, and James Cross too. Thank you, James Cross, brother, as always. James Hulse, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. We liked it. It was good.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you both very, very much. I have a lot of respect for the 2 of you, and it means a lot to kind of for you guys to invite me on here and do this. So thank you very much.
You're a great friend, and we're happy to have you.
It's been a ton of fun, and when we need a stand-in, I know the guy.
I think he's it.
I would be more than willing to test my hand. I've gone as far as recording myself and then listening to it and thinking of how awful I sound. Well, I feel like I sound great, but I have my crutch words. I've kind of tried to recognize so that I could not say those words all the time or those
Let's
pauses.
not talk about that. I feel
You could just be
attacked.
like me and just say whatever comes to your mind, and you just go with it every time. Because that's
Literally be the same thing every episode. We've had discussions about both of us. Like, okay, we can't say excited anymore. Not
what's my other word? Epic.
Oh, I thought it was
Um's a common. Yeah, it's a
mine
popular
is
one.
right. I chase with right.
Mine is yes.
Right.
Anyways, we're going down a path.
Sorry.
James Hulse, I want to geek out with you over CNG and LNG soon, whether that's in person or on another podcast, and maybe bring that world to other people in a video format. See what I'm doing here?
No.
Anytime, brother.
All right. Anyways, audience, thanks for tuning in. We hope you gained something today. If you're on the LinkedIn platform, connect with Mr. James Hulse. He is a wealth of information, intrigue, just a generally good guy.
Intrigue.
So, I know that was that was a new word for me. Come on, I'm trying.
Connect with us too. Man, I'm always looking for friends on LinkedIn. Keep
Mr.
sharing
Cross,
the message. Come on.
I'm trying to break 100 connections. So please, somebody connect with me.
Yeah, right.
Until next week on Coffee with Jim and James, as I always mention, please, everyone, stay safe. Until next week, we will see you back here. Take care, everybody.